In this part of the course, you'll be learning about the body changes that occur during puberty. But before you begin, I'd like you to hear from some of our students at the University of Adelaide who have shared some of their most interesting memories of puberty.
One of the biggest one is obviously everyone's voice cracks. You see physical changes, you see psychological changes, mood swings. That I would say was the biggest shock. I think going from having a really high pitched voice to not so high pitched.
See, puberty wasn't that good for me. I was probably 6'3" and 250 pounds in year 5, so it probably hit a lot earlier than everywhere else. So yeah, I didn't really wasn't able to process it as well as everyone. So that's probably funny.
Not a super interesting memory, but I do definitely remember the day of my first period. I remember that.
How embarrassing in general it was. I don't think I can sum it down to one. I think it was just an alright horrible experience until the end, but you know, it's really great when you get out of there.
I think it's just like where you wake up suddenly like one morning and then like you just have like intense mood shifts and stuff, or like you start instantly seeing someone in a whole new light because of puberty.
Oh, pubic hair maybe, I guess, I don't know.
Oh, definitely the warbling, like opera-like voice breaks. There's a memorable for not the best reason.
Vomiting on the first day of my period at school. No, it's not fun.
Honestly, getting like boners in class. That was uncomfortable.
You've just heard some of our on-campus students talking about their own experiences of puberty and some of the physical and emotional changes that take place. But let's just think for a moment. What's the point of puberty? As with most animals, after birth, humans require considerable further development and maturation before they are successfully able to reproduce. Bodies and brains need to grow and develop so that they are able to support the next generation. If a baby was born already equipped to reproduce, this would have serious drawbacks because its body isn't ready size-wise to support the growth of a baby, and it is not emotionally mature enough to look after any offspring. Therefore, we have evolved as a species so that puberty occurs when our bodies can better cope with having a baby or fathering a baby. The word puberty is derived from the Latin word pubertas, which means adulthood, which is a highly appropriate name as puberty is the life stage which involves the development of a child into an adult capable of reproducing. Next, you'll look at some of the developmental changes that happen to our bodies during puberty and explore why these occur.
Hormones are chemicals that stimulate or regulate the activity of cells or organs. They are produced in specialized structures called endocrine glands, and they travel around the body in our bloodstream. There are broadly 3 types of hormones based on their chemical structure. Peptides and protein hormones, which are composed of chains of amino acids of varying lengths, amine hormones, which are modified amino acids, and steroid hormones, which are all synthesized from cholesterol. The term sex hormones refers broadly to steroid hormones that are produced largely in the gonads, that is, the testes in males and the ovaries in females. These hormones, like other steroid hormones, exert their action by binding to specialized receptors located within target cells. Binding of steroid hormone molecules to their receptors activates certain genes. This activation of genes leads to the production of new protein molecules, including structural and transport proteins, cellular pumps, and enzymes. This ultimately leads to changes within the target cells. So, how are hormones involved in puberty? Well, puberty is initiated by changes in the levels of specific hormones. These hormonal changes are largely triggered by a part of the brain called the hypothalamus, which stimulates a bulbous structure called the pituitary gland, which dangles below it, which then, in turn, activates other glands, including the gonads. The physical signs of puberty are not really seen until about age 10 in girls and a bit later, about 12 in boys. However, researchers have figured out that there are changes in the amount of hormones being released into the bloodstream of children aged as young as 7 or 8. At this time, there is an increase in the release of hormones called androgens from glands that sit on top of the kidneys. These triangular-shaped glands are called the adrenal glands. You might have heard of them before. They are the same glands which release a hormone called adrenaline when we are scared or excited. The increase in the secretion of androgens before any visible signs of puberty are thought to play an important role in brain development in both sexes, and therefore can influence social and emotional well-being. This stage of development is sometimes referred to as adrenal puberty or adrenarche, which literally means awakening of the adrenal glands. And adrenal androgens are said to exert masculizing actions, as they are largely responsible for the development of pubic hair, sweatiness, and acne in girls when puberty proper kicks in. Gonadarche is the phase traditionally regarded as puberty. Gonadarche translates as awakening of the gonads. This is an apt description, as it is at this time that the testes in the males and the ovaries in the females start to produce the sex steroids. On average, for girls, gonadarche begins at about 10.5, and for boys it's a bit later, on average at 11.5 years. The hormones that are causing the noticeable physical changes are ones that are being largely released from the ovaries in a female, which is estrogen, and from the testes in a male, testosterone. Next, you'll be able to explore how hormones regulate the reproductive function in both females and in males.
I'm Wendy Ingman. I'm the THRF Associate Professor of Breast Cancer Research at the University of Adelaide, based at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital. I'm a breast biologist. That means that I study the cells in the breast, how they develop, how they interact with each other, and how they affect the risk of disease states in the breast. So that is a question that we get quite often. Why do boys have nipples when they don't actually need them? And the answer is that nipples actually start developing very early on in a fetus's life, before that fetus is even identifies as looking either male or female. So female breasts are made up of a number of different types of cells and different tissue compartments. There is the epithelial cells or lobules. They're organised into ducts and lobules. They are the milk secreting cells during lactation when milk is being produced. And they are embedded within what's called stromal tissue, which is made up of a whole host of different types of cells, such as fibroblasts, macrophages, different other types of immune cells, as well as extracellular matrix, such as collagen. And then all of this is within a fatty tissue or adipose tissue. So breast buds develop very early on when a girl starts to go through puberty, around the ages of 8 to 13 years, but it can vary quite considerably between girls. It's caused by rising levels of estrogen, which occur when a girl starts to go through puberty, and it's also then influenced by progesterone as well. Both of these hormones are produced by the ovary when it starts to function during puberty. But there's also rising levels of hormones in boys at this time as well, which can stimulate a bit of development in the breast. But it subsides in time in boys, continues to develop in girls. So there is huge variability between girls in the size and shape and also the firmness of breasts. Some breasts are more lumpy than others. It's really about natural variability in how we are. You know, we have different shaped ears, we have different noses and different eyes, and we also have different shapes of other parts of our body, such as the breasts. It doesn't have any effect on whether a girl, when she has a pregnancy and is producing milk, it doesn't affect her ability to breastfeed. The size of breasts doesn't really have any impact on her fertility or her ability to make milk. Our laboratory has been studying how the breast changes and develops during the menstrual cycle, and we've been focusing on a particular type of cell, which is called a macrophage. Macrophages are part of the immune system, and they're usually involved in checking for infection or cells which might have become cancerous. But we've found that they are also involved in the development of the breast, and they support the development that occurs after ovulation with rising progesterone. They support the development of those milk secreting cells, and they also have a role in cleaning up the dead cells if a pregnancy doesn't proceed. And some of our research has suggested that there is a window of breast cancer risk which opens up each menstrual cycle around the time that a woman has her period, which is when those cells start to die because of the progesterone being reduced, and that the macrophages, which are supposed to be checking the body for potential cancers, actually taken off of that job, and because of their job in breast development, they are letting cancerous cells go through into the next menstrual cycle, and this could be why an increased number of menstrual cycles is associated with an increased breast cancer risk for a woman's lifetime. So when women are on a hormonal contraceptive pill, they do actually have a slightly increased risk of breast cancer because they're taking a pill which has estrogen and progesterone in it, and they are the hormones which promote development of the breast. So it makes sense that they would therefore be at a slightly increased risk. The risk doesn't persist after women stop taking the pill, and also, you need to consider that women who are taking the contraceptive pill are generally younger women, whereas breast cancer occurs predominantly in older women that are probably not so concerned about the risk of conceiving. Although I should say that breast cancer is still a risk for women who are younger as well.